This is Kandahar Airfield, the biggest NATO base in the world. With £1 billion of air assets and 10,000 coalition forces from 28 countries, it's a major target for the Taliban.
I saw a guy crawling right here and I knew he was hit.
The RAF regiment patrols outside the wire.
Right, I just got a flash off a mirror.
To keep those inside safe from the fighting. A slice of normality.
This is the first cut.
In a scary place.
I mean, it is a war zone, end of story. That's what we're in.
It's 8 AM on Kandahar Airbase. The RAF regiment's getting ready to take a vet to a nearby village to look at some sick animals. They want to get the local Afghans on side. And they also want to find out who's behind the recent attacks outside the camp. Flight Sergeant Rob Williams was in a Vixen Land Rover when it was hit by a blast from a roadside bomb last week.
It blew the wheel covering here off, and it blew the, as you can see, some of the damage on here itself. Some of the shrapnel was actually directed up towards the top cover, obviously because of the blast.
Unlucky enough to be on top cover that day was 21-year-old John Byrne.
It was scary as hell. I remember like stones, like bits of shrapnel, debris, stuff like that just flying up. My goggles did say my eyesight's because they've got cracks in my goggles, so basically they're taking my eyes clean out. I could just feel my face burning, and I could smell like sulphur. It was absolutely like horrible.
I think you feel it first was the initial pressure of the explosion knocking the vehicle, and then you hear the explosion. Then all I saw was a load of dust puff, and you heard the shrapnel actually hitting the side of the vehicle, and basically you know somebody's initiated some form of explosive.
Bombs buried under the road are the most common form of Taliban attack.
When people think of Taliban and all that, you just think of seeing people run around with AK-47s and RPGs. Yet you never ever bloody see them. They just set their devices up and they're gone. Scary place, scary world. Just got to crack on though.
The number of attacks has gone up in the last few months, and it's got the regiment's nerves on edge.
I hope that's just the one that we go through in our 6-month tour. You never know. But I've requested to get back to work as soon as possible, just because the longer I put it off, I doubt I'd want to go back out. Made you scared to get back out, if you know what I mean. So I just wanted to crack on with it, and I'll try and put it out back in my mind.
He's always going to be apprehensive now. We're all going to be apprehensive now when we go out on the ground.
Rob's been a regiment soldier for 22 years, and he knows that his young lads have good reason to be worried.
I think if you stop being scared, that's when you start to become blasé. I think anybody who turns around and says they're not scared to go out on the ground, knowing what's out there, would be a liar as well. But there's nothing wrong with a bit of fear every time you go out the gate, because it heightens your senses, doesn't it?
There are 1,800 British men and women living on Kandahar Airfield, 900 RAF, 800 Army, and the odd naval officer. Lieutenant Pete Barfoot's just been posted to Afghanistan, where he's got the job as political advisor for the camp.
It's not quite the same as being on the front line with a rifle, but certainly if I can, assist with the intelligence analysis and also give people a bit of a better idea of what's going on political-wise, then I'll be fairly happy with that.
This afternoon, he's putting up posters about the key players in President Karzai's Afghan government.
This is more aimed for your NCOs and officers, but you never know. You might get private blogs come along here and actually you know, take an active interest and read it and really draw something from it, and that's what I hoped.
Before he came out to the desert, Pete was serving on aircraft carrier HMS Illustrious.
Massively different to being at sea. There's obviously no movement there. We've got a window to keep an eye on. In fact, look, fantastic view. A concrete blast wall. Yeah, quite nice. So that's good, but often the blinds are down because actually you can see the fine dust just gets absolutely everywhere, and it just comes through all the joints on the windows and everything. I mean, we last dusted this place on Sunday, didn't we, Stitch? And it's already built up massively. You can see I'm trying to keep a bit of navy of the army there, bringing a bit of navy with ensign. Up there, a few pictures of home, as we'll have, plaster on the bulkhead. I like to still use naval terminology, much to the chagrin of my cabin mates.
In the middle of Kandahar Airfield is the boardwalk, an area that's got everything you wouldn't expect to find in a war zone. Rows of shops, Burger King and Pizza Hut. But there's one thing missing, somewhere for a good old British cup of tea. Naval officer Pete Barfoot and his RAF colleague, Flight Lieutenant Janet Graham, are about to change all that.
Have a cuppa. Tea is good for you, did you know? It's good for the constitution. Obviously, we're promoting it as a traditional English, or British, I should say, tea party in the middle of the desert with refreshing tea and coffee and cake. There might be one or two traditional aspects you'd expect to see in Britain. More flags and balloons is the order of the day.
It's not just about the British making their mark on the boardwalk. It's all for a good cause, helping the families of our armed forces. Janet's off to the British canteen to collect the centrepiece.
Right, let's go and find this cake, hopefully. Oh my God! That is amazing. Thank you so much.
Now they've just got to get it out in one piece.
That would cost thousands of pounds in the UK.
With all the vital ingredients for a perfect tea party ready, the big brew can get underway.
2 teas, please.
2 teas. This is the first cup.
First slice. First cup of tea. First slice.
We've done it on a Saturday morning where the tempo here tends to be a little bit more chilled out. People have got a bit more spare time and they're not under pressure to get back to work so much. Is it nice?
And it's good.
There's delicious cake and fine tea on offer, but the turnout's a little disappointing. On the other side of the boardwalk, the Canadian coffee shop is proving to be stiff competition. But Pete has a plan. The Yanks don't know what's about to hit them.
Morning! Good morning. Throw away that muck. Come and have a good cup of English tea. You don't want any of this today, people. You want to come down to the British corner for a British cup of tea or coffee.
Had I known this was going on, I would have went down there first.
That's all right. You're a big chap. You can fit 2 cups in. I can see you're a 2-cup man. Okay? Right. Come along.
Sounds
come along.
Good. Thanks.
Thanks. There's a few people giving us the old rabbit in headlights look. But as long as we can promote the message, you know, hopefully we can get, if we get at least, you know, a few or dozen down there, that's better. Come. Do you know what would go wonderful with your Timmy Hortons? Some cake down there as well. All for charity. All for charity.
The British charm offensive seems to be paying off.
It's gone really, really well. We've had loads of people.
Yeah,
and
we've
got a whole tin of money and we sold all of that cake.
And a grand total of $700 goes to a very deserving cause.
Oh, the things I do for charity. Oh, thank you.
Flight Sergeant Rob Williams and his lads from the RAF regiment are on a Hearts and Minds mission. They're taking a vet to a local village. but it's a slow process.
Bring her right up.
They've reached a vulnerable point, a place where the Taliban might have hidden some bombs under the sand.
Okay, just go firm, lads.
It's down to Corporal Ed Dyes to guide the convoy through.
Crack on. So basically what we're doing now is just adopting the prone position just in case anything did go off. Then, you know, the lower you are, the less likely you are to get some of it.
These improvised explosive devices, or IEDs, are the Taliban's favourite weapon.
In the last sort of 7-8 days, there's been 3 IEDs within our area, just in 8 days. You know, they're crafty fuckers. Crafty fuckers. So watch where you step here, because it's a minefield either side. Junior, we're going to move over the water, okay? We're going to take that track down there. So this is a bit unpleasant because the guys are going to have to get their feet wet here, and it fucking stinks, that water.
This time, Rob and the regiment lads find nothing. They pass through the vulnerable point unharmed and head for the village. An hour later, they arrive. And Rob and the lads are an immediate hit with the children.
The majority of them are just like any other kids, they just want to play. I mean, at the end of the day, they haven't got what our kids have got back home to make do with what they've got. But most of the time, it's rewarding. They put a smile on their face, it's all right.
Rob's just gone in for a shura, which is basically a meeting with the head man. You can usually spot the head man's gaff. I mean, it's got the well nearby and it's got windows. Nobody else has.
The military vet gets down to business.
We're taking a sample of fecal material from the cow, and we're going to look and see if they got worms.
Afghanistan is the 5th poorest country in the world. The animals are the locals' only source of food and income in this village, so they've got to keep them healthy.
You just need to tell him that he needs to keep trying to get that infection out of the udder. Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
A visit from a vet could help them survive the winter.
I think it's important that locals know that we're not bad people and that we're just here to help them, and that they can count on us. It's a little bit different than what I'm used to back at home for sure, so you'll probably see with some of the sheep how they got fat pads that are back around their back end. That's kind of unique. I've never seen that before, so. It looks like there's an abscess here. Yeah. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to open it up so that it'll drain out. So, we got a hold of it? Ah, you're okay. So it's an abscess, it needs to drain, and it needs to be on some antibiotics. It's kind of got to heal from the inside out.
Vet's work done, the lads head home. Mark Hand is the man in charge of the regiment, so he's responsible for everyone's safety inside the camp.
Ultimately, there are 12,000 people, give or take, on this base, which is only going to get bigger, and we're here to protect 12,000 people on this base. That's what we're all about.
As head of security, he's also in charge of the 300 Canadian and Dutch troops who guard the entry gates. It's a 24/7 job, but he still has to find time to keep up appearances.
Hello, how are you?
Today, he's come to see Irina, one of the camp's hairdressers.
Like a number 4 at the back, tapered, please. And then just a trim, light trim.
Military haircuts come in a variety of styles. Short, very short, or no hair at all.
It's important to maintain your own self-respect, your own sort of normal life. We can't allow these bad guys outside to determine what we do, when we do it, how we do it. And this is just one sort of little microcosm of that.
It's one of 3 salons in the camp.
It's quite similar to getting your hair cut back in the UK, but the difference is I'm not likely to get rocketed in Bushy Heath.
He has taper at back, but top and side not too short. It's between civilian haircut and military.
I get told off by my wife if it goes too short.
Really?
Yeah. That's really good. Thank you very much indeed. Lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Irina. I'll be here again.
Yes, please.
Thanks.
Okay,
Bye.
nice to meet
Bye.
you, sir. Bye.
There are troops from 26 different NATO countries in Kandahar, all sporting military haircuts and desert combat gear. On the face of it, they look the same, but there are some subtle differences.
So for example, you can see the Britful personnel here. You've got their standard desert wear, whereas the US and the Canadians have pixelated camouflage on their gear, which makes it more difficult for image intensifying scopes to be able to pick out the outline of a human at range, you see, so it's a little bit more tactical that way around. Yeah. And as you can see, this is the latest camouflage kit in the jungle.
Troops like to personalise their uniforms too, anything to stand out from the crowd. Pete's visiting a little business that does a roaring trade on camp.
I'm coming along to the tailors to basically get this hat altered, which is for a friend of mine who can't make it up here. The British Army and some of the Air Force and elements like to shorten in the rim and make the top a bit smaller. It's sort of the style of the army. I suppose it makes it more sort of, I don't know, beret look, but certainly smaller on the head. I personally don't go for it because I don't have a problem with mine, but you know, whatever spins your props. Good afternoon. Afternoon. How are you all? Excellent. A friend of mine's asked me if she can do the standard shortening in of the rim, you know, by about, I don't know, 4 stitches or so.
The shop's been here for a couple of years and it's run by Filipino civilians. And it's not just alterations. Loads of troops come here to customise their uniforms with military badges.
Yeah, you sent me to Afghanistan, you bastard. Quite apt.
10 minutes and $7 later.
Got it. That was quick. But you can see, you know, they shorten in the rim and then shorten in the top as well. But they sort of plonk it on like that and they sort of flatten down the boff front and lift up the top and go like that.
Camp Bastion is 90 miles northwest of Kandahar Airfield and only 25 miles from the combat zone. The RAF Chinook crew do a 4-day stint here, transporting supplies and troops across Helmand Province. One of the Chinook's most vital roles is as an air ambulance, picking up wounded soldiers. It's part of the Immediate Response Team, or IRT. Chinook pilot Jockey and co-pilot Scratchy are on 24-hour standby in case of an emergency call-out.
I would say the most important role for us here is the IRT, which we're doing today. So that is to go out into theatre where someone's been wounded and take the medics with you, pick the person up, the medics try and stabilise them as best they can, and then recover all those people back to usually Camp Bastion, where they can be brought into proper treatment in the hospital here.
I think IRT is probably the most satisfying thing we do out here because you see a definite impact. You know, it's quite nice to know that you're helping other people out.
You're trying to keep your body in rest because you could go in the middle of the night and you have to be on the ball. So I'm here at the moment, resting and just waiting on the next call. So I know that if it happens later on tonight, I won't be tired when I go and do it.
It's a high-risk job. They'll be flying directly into a combat zone. And when it lands, the Chinook is a big, slow-moving target for the Taliban.
The Taliban are probably in and around that area and will know that at some point a Chinook or another type of sport helicopter will come in and out to do a resupply. So we need somebody upstairs while we go in low to watch what we're doing, to protect us as we go in and out.
And that somebody upstairs is an Apache gunship. It's an American attack helicopter, adapted by the British Army and armed to the teeth. Pilot Will Rouse has been flying the Apache for 2 years. He's 24 years old and this is his second tour of Afghanistan.
The enemy forces are very scared of the aircraft because they know most of its capabilities, and whenever we turn up they normally go to ground, hide in all the trees and the ditches and stuff.
They've got good reason to be scared. The Apache's a real battlefield bully. It can pack a variety of weaponry, including a 30mm Boeing M230 chain gun that fires an awesome 625 rounds per minute. And it's controlled by the pilot turning his head. Attached to each wing can be pods of 19 CRV-7 rockets. Fired separately or in bursts, they're capable of devastating light armoured vehicles. And next to the rockets, it can carry 8 laser-guided Hellfire anti-tank missiles, powerful enough to destroy the heaviest armoured tanks from 5 miles away. Jockey and Scratchy have just got a call. 2 soldiers have been injured in an explosion near Sangin, 55 miles to the northeast in the heart of the combat zone. They need airlifting to hospital, and fast.
You have to get things right because people are relying on you. Fairly risky as it comes, I think.
As the Chinook crew complete their last-minute checks, their Apache escort race to get airborne.
Got a shot, escorting the IRT. Go and pick up Casualty.
The Apache has 2 pilots. One in the back flies the aircraft, while the co-pilot or gunner in the front operates the weapons.
You've got to get out there as quickly as possible to support the Chinook, to make sure that we're picking up the guy on the ground and thinking about what you're expecting when you get there. The enemy forces still in the area, whether we're going to have to engage, whether we're going to have to just watch the Chinook. It is quite a high adrenaline thing because obviously there's so much of the unknown. We think that it's not going to be the worst thing, but you always got to be prepared for that.
After a 20-minute flight, the Chinook crew and their Apache escort arrive at Sangin, in the heart of Helmand Province, to pick up 2 injured soldiers. As pilot Jockey comes into land, the Chinook is at its most vulnerable. So the Apache circles overhead, keeping watch for enemy activity.
We obviously are interrogating the area around, making sure that there's no enemy forces around, and if they are, then we obviously hold out the Chinook and ensure that we can suppress or engage the enemy.
There's no place to hide from the Apache's all-seeing eye. Telescopic sights and night vision sensors in the nose of the aircraft allow the gunner to detect and pinpoint enemy threats by day and night. This information is projected into a monocle in front of each pilot's right eye. Infrared sensors in the cockpit track their helmet's movements so each pilot can aim the sights just by turning his head. Most scary of all, the awesome chain gun can be slaved to the pilot's helmet and fired wherever he looks.
If you suddenly get engaged from the side, you can look back at where you've been engaged from and do a snapshot and engage the target.
Jockey lands the Chinook as close to the casualties as possible and the Medivac team quickly get to work.
There's a couple of times when we've had rounds fired past the aircraft which immediately got my adrenaline rushing. However, you've got to stay focused and ensure that you can prosecute the target or prosecute where those rounds have come from.
The 2 casualties, both from the Gurkha regiment, are safely on board. Chinook pilot Jockey takes off and the race is on to get them back to Bastion. Co-pilot Scratchy focuses his mind on what's going on in the cockpit rather than out the back.
You don't see anything when you're sitting in the front, which is a good thing. You certainly feel fairly helpless when you've got the aircraft going as fast as it can go, trying to get it to where it needs to be, and just hoping that the guys in the back are winning the battle, I guess.
The two casualties both made full recoveries.
When you pick someone up and you know that you got them to hospital on time, that's definitely pretty rewarding.
"90 miles east in Kandahar, there's a photo shoot going on.
Okay.
26-year-old Tracy French is one of 14 Aeromedics who assist injured soldiers back to the UK.
If I could ask the shorties to step aside.
I'm quite tall.
Okay.
Frenchie, get over here.
There's a lot of people leaving in the next week, so we're just trying to get a photograph of us all together, really. We have a laugh every day, even if it gets a bit touchy sometimes, the hours that we're doing and stuff like that, but no, everybody gets on really well.
There we go.
Just throw her off.
Wrap that off you.
Frenchie works over by the runway in the air staging unit.
Right then, do your temperature first.
Most of the sick and wounded in southern Afghanistan end up here waiting for a flight home.
I don't think anybody really wants to go home in these circumstances, but I mean, that's why we try and make it sort of as comfortable and as relaxed for them as we can. If a fly comes near, press that button, but don't touch that.
Put your hands on it.
No chance, not happening. You've got to make sure you press the button though when you hit the fly. It'll electrocute them.
There have been 1,200 British Aeromed evacuations from Afghanistan in the last 2 years. Army Lance Corporal Colin Spooner was injured 8 days ago, fighting alongside the Marines in Helmand Province. He's 21 years old.
So where I was, it's like the green zone. It's like a lot of rivers and cornfields and opium fields and stuff like that. It's quite hard going, especially with the heat and that.
They were ambushed by the Taliban and Colin was hit by shrapnel from an 82mm mortar shell.
Obviously I was in mega shock and just sort of like walking around like screaming and that, and then my mates come up to me and as soon as I saw my mates I was alright. They sorted me out, so I just want to get home now and just go from there.
Colin's flight doesn't leave till tomorrow.
Right then, let's go shopping.
So, French is taking him and the rest of the walking wounded for a bit of retail therapy. The American Superstore is one of 3 supermarkets on camp, selling everything from magazines to mountain bikes.
Just making the day pass, just gives them something to do. It's just trying to entertain them for a little bit.
But keeping tabs on 5 grown men isn't easy.
Right, where have those guys gone? It's quite difficult because they're all very independent people. So you've sort of got to let them get on with it, but you've also got to sort of be in the background if anything does happen. It's a bit embarrassing when you lose patients. Not that I have yet. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Someone's missing.
Where's that other one gone now? He was there a minute ago.
Colin. He's got one last purchase to make. A present for Frenchie.
Yeah, I'll borrow a pack of M&Ms. She changes my socks for me, so I'll give her something anyhow. All the medical staff out here have just been amazing. Like from the moment I got injured to like now and getting me back home and that, it's just been awesome. So I'm glad that they're here, to be honest with you. I'm really glad.
Oh, good choice, M&Ms. All right then, that's a deal.
It's midnight. News has reached the camp that Rob Williams and his RAF regiment lads have gone over another improvised explosive device just outside the base. Their boss, Mark Hand, is in the command centre, coordinating the rescue.
As at 23:30, we've taken an IED strike against the lead vehicle in a 4-vehicle convoy. It appears has been struck by a very large IED at the time when they were conducting their vulnerable point checks.
The Wimmick Land Rover's taken a direct hit from the bomb, and 3 of the regiment lads are seriously injured.
One in particular, Flight Sergeant Rob Williams. I've spent time in Iraq with him last year. He's a fantastic soldier, one of the best, and gutted to hear that it was him. Heart sank, to be honest, when I heard that. The indications are that it's 4.5 tons of Wimmick that's been blown about 15 feet to the side of the road, has been flipped. We have 1 man trapped underneath that vehicle at the moment. There are now 30 guys trying to get that vehicle either up onto its side or jacked far enough up so we can get this casualty out. Yeah, it's not good when you hear that. It is a sickening feeling.
It's several hours before the trapped soldier is freed from the blown-up vehicle. By dawn, the 3 casualties are back in Kandahar and have had life-saving operations in the camp's hospital. The regiment lads are pretty shaken up. Billy Igo Mitchell was in the Land Rover as it took the hit. He's lucky to have escaped unhurt.
I just remember feeling myself going through the air and landing on the floor, and I think I must have blacked out just before I hit the floor. And from accounts of everyone else, I think it must have gone about 15 to 20 feet in the air before I landed.
They've just visited their sergeant in the hospital.
Seeing Sergeant Williams, I know this sounds really cheesy, but you see him, you'd see him as a bit like indestructible sort of thing. You don't think something like that could happen to him. And to see him lying there after he'd just come out of surgery with, you know, his oxygen mask on, his face all just mangled, and he was still joking though, even when he was in there. It was just something like that'll stay with you for the rest of your life.
One of Rob's best mates is Sergeant Bennett Jones. The news has hit him hard.
The only people that will stay in your vehicles though is the top covers, because most of you lot are fucking search team.
It makes you fucking really angry. They're just fucking cowards. If we knew where those fuckers were at that time, I think, well, we would have gone there. I guarantee that now.
Jones's lads are off to search the taxi drivers who hang around just outside the base.
Use the fucking dog anywhere to sniff them out, all right?
Yeah, see if they're open.
Yeah.
The regiment suspects that some of these men are feeding information to the Taliban.
We've just been tasked to hit this car park really, because I know it's right next to the main gate, so it's not that far at all from the camp. The reason being is obviously every time we go in and out, there's personnel in this car park. They're always on mobile phones and so on. Obviously, we call them dickers. They obviously then use the phones to give indication to the people out on the ground when we move out. They reference where to place IEDs, how many vehicles are going out, and all that sort of stuff.
I was checking the back of his phone, see if he's got more than 1 SIM card in it, because if usually, yeah, you open it. Usually if we've got more than 1 SIM card in it, it's going to be used to dick us. 2 different SIM cards avoids getting caught by the system. Do you know what I mean? So I check he hasn't got that.
Then Jay finds something suspicious strapped to one of the drivers.
Jesus. Actually, take it off. What the hell is it? Jesus. They just pulled the girdle off him, then put his vest.
Suicide girdle.
Yeah. Gave me a bit of a scare that when I felt it on him, like. Almost the same as I suppose what a suicide vest would feel like.
Jules is using a bit of kit that's helping the regiment identify the enemy.
Right.
Okay, over there.
It's a retina scanner.
Checking if they're Taliban or not. Or if they're wanted, basically.
In an instant, it'll check the person against a database of thousands of known Taliban.
Right, over there. If it is serious, basically they get taken out of our hands. Moves further up the chain.
Yeah, nearly done. All the people are searched now. We're just working through the last of the vehicles now.
Bag of weed.
You have to leave and keep it because it's not illegal over here.
What they'll do is they'll put it, it's a bit like chewing tobacco, they'll put it under the front lip and gives them a sort of a high. There's just fields of the stuff, absolute fields of it, so there's no way you can really police it.
Not the biggest haul.
We're back in as you found it. There'll be no complaints.
But the message to the watching Taliban is clear.
As long as they know that we come into this car park now and we do this, it's going to make them think twice about coming in here. So it's all about trying to push them out and shit like that.
It's 11 p.m. and Frenchie's back on duty.
DVD player for the flight back.
She's getting ready to escort her patients back to the UK. They'll be flying in a C-17 Globemaster, the RAF's latest addition to its fleet. It's built to transport a Chinook or 3 Apache helicopters. But tonight, the medical team's busy converting it.
We are basically building a mini ward on the back of the plane, I suppose, ready for the guys to come on, like a little hospital. The aeroplane itself, you can see all these leads leading up here. That's got electricity and oxygen that's pumping through. It's like what you'd find in a hospital. It's got the emergency button, it's got the call button that the patients need, it's got the oxygen going through it. So it has essentially got everything that you would in a hospital, really.
The first of French's patients start to arrive.
Nice and slowly, don't fall over on camera.
Including Lance Corporal Colin Spooner, who was injured in Helmand.
We'll just try and make their flight as comfortable as possible. Obviously the nurses will be giving them if they need any painkillers and everything to make, it's just to make the trip back as comfortable as you can. You all right?
The 5 walking wounded are safely tucked in. But there are 3 more casualties booked onto this flight. Rob Williams and his 2 regiment soldiers will go on last. Because of the seriousness of their injuries, they're being kept in hospital as long as possible. The new commander of the airbase, Andy Fryer, and the regiment boss, Mark Hand, have come to say goodbye.
Well, we're about to go and wish them luck, really. It's always a difficult thing when you've got guys lying in hospital.
It's not minor injuries we're dealing with here. These guys are seriously injured. It takes a little bit of steel to face them and to show that you really do care. How are you, fella? You all right? Shit. Yeah, well, that's remarkable that you're here, fella. All right? It's not the end of the story, it's the beginning. Somebody will pay, one way or the other. All right?
Over 100 British troops have been killed and almost 1,000 have been seriously injured in Afghanistan. Last on tonight's flight are the 2 wounded regiment lads and their sergeant, Rob Williams. At RAF Brize Norton in Oxfordshire, the C-17 touches down after a 9-hour flight from Kandahar. Aeromed Tracy French has been looking after 21-year-old Army Lance Corporal Colin Spooner. He was injured in a mortar attack 10 days ago.
This, I suppose, is what you joined up for, making sure the guys get home safely. It's nice.
It's a very rewarding job, very rewarding.
Let's get you.
especially when the parents see them. You can see the relief in their faces when the guys get here and they're okay. Would you like to have them home?
In the worst week of my life. A week and a bit.
With the injuries he's got, you could do with having like a warm bath every day, just to clean it out, and just like try naturally, try not to rip it or anything, because he's got quite a lot of gashes.
Say your goodbyes.
Yeah.
Here's another hug for you. Alright, you take care of yourself.
I'll look you up.
Yes, find me.
Right. Okay,
Take
then.
care.
See you
later. Bye.
Frenchie's got one night here, but there's no time to see her family. Just a stopover in the military hostel at Bryce Norton.
Hello. You all right?
Before heading back to Kandahar tomorrow morning.
6 o'clock call.
Yep.
There'll be toast and cereal down in the dining room, and transport will leave here at 7.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Get it back in the morning.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
All you want to do is book in, get your bed, and then get up in the morning and fly back out again, because while we're here, you know that the guys are back in Kandahar with, at the moment, 4 people short, so anything could be happening out there. They could be absolutely maxed out, so you want to get back out there and give them a hand as well.
Back at Kandahar, Wing Commander Mark Hand and his intelligence forces have been busy. They've arrested the men they think are responsible for the bomb attack on Rob Williams and the other regiment lads.
At the peak of questioning, there were 9 guys in detention. Of that, 4 have admitted to the attempted murder of the guys on the ground, and they will go through the Afghani judicial system charged with attempted murder.
With Rob and his 2 young soldiers still recovering in Selly Oak Hospital in Birmingham, it's a bittersweet victory.
It meant that we took our enemies off the streets and into an Afghani judicial system that we have faith in, but it equally was payback time for the guys that are lying in bed in Selly Oak. And in terms of some form of moral levelling of the battlefield, I think that's been delivered.
It's been a difficult few days, but life soon returns to normal at Kandahar. Mark's come to the edge of the camp to let off some steam.
Part of my luggage on the way out here was 2 golf clubs and 100 balls. It's about the only thing that keeps me sane. If you can get out for half an hour on a Sunday morning and just knock a few golf balls around, it sort of takes you back to where you want to be actually.
But it's not long before his thoughts return to the men of the RAF regiment.
The effort that they put in and the commitment they show is just, from a commander's point of view, it's humbling. You know, all hours of the day, all hours of the night, and the job gets done, and that's just the great thing about being in this line of business. You know, the job gets done, come what may.
Next time on Warzone.
15 seconds. Action station. Action station.
The Hercules crew drop supplies to the troops on the front line. Kandahar Airfield comes under attack from the Taliban.
The rocket lands on top of you, you know, that'll basically vaporise you.
And the Soviet ammunition dump goes up in smoke.